Let's move up to New York State, and I've got a New York twofer for you tonight, Cameron Gray.
All right, sounds
We're
good.
joined by two guests, our good friend Tom King from the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, and New York State Assembly Minority Leader Brian Kolb is on the line as well. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us tonight on NRAnews.com and SiriusXM Patriot 125.
Thanks, John.
Great.
Always a pleasure, guys.
Thank you, sir. The pleasure is ours as well. New York is taking aim at keeping firearm companies and thousands of private sector jobs in the state. That's the kind of story I'd love to hear, by the way. So let's talk about this, Minority Leader Kolb. What's going on? What was your idea behind this, and what are we trying to accomplish here?
Well, actually, not only myself, but Tom King and others have basically said the firearms industry in New York State has not gotten the respect that it needs in terms of creating up to and over 10,000 jobs directly in the industry and related. And actually, there was a New York Times article that basically said gun manufacturers are looking for friendly places to grow their businesses and jobs and the economy, et cetera. And of course, one of those key issues is microstamping, which Tom King has been very outspoken about, and a variety of others as well. And we're basically saying we're calling on Governor Cuomo and Lieutenant Governor Bob Duffy and these economic development councils to recognize that the firearms industry in New York State creates jobs, creates a positive economic impact on New York State. And we have to pay attention to that industry. We have to say, you're welcome in New York, so other states basically don't entice these great manufacturers and businesses out of our state. And really, we're just speaking out saying, don't forget about a great industry.
You know, we saw that article as well. We posted it on all of our social media feeds, too, about how these other, when you're talking about Wyoming or, the rest of the country, where they're a lot friendlier to a firearms industry. That's, Minority Leader Kolb and Tom, that's a lot of competition. A company has enough to deal with regulations and with taxes. The last thing they want to do is deal with an unfriendly state. So how could you, it seems like a really tough battle you have on your hands to try to convince these people to stay and not go to somewhere that looks like the promised land.
Well, that's true, and unfortunately, we have some enlightened leaders like Minority Leader Kolb. Hi, Brian, by the way, and who understand this and who are pushing for a more friendly environment to keep those 10,000 plus jobs in New York State, and that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a change of attitude, and fortunately, we have a few politicians who understand that.
And gentlemen, I think this is always a good idea to encourage firearm companies, but especially, as we've been talking about here on Cam and Company tonight, the economy is in rough shape from everywhere, from east to west coast here in Washington, D.C. We all see this. There can't be a better time for an incentive like this and to get this thing going and encourage these firearm companies to come to New York State.
Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I was going to say Tom is a great man, and it's good to hear from him as well. But, it's very interesting. You got this great debate going in nationwide about the economy and jobs and what can we do and all the normal rhetoric that goes back and forth. And really what we're trying to do here in New York with Tom and other folks who are involved with the firearms industry is basically to say, look, these are good-paying jobs. This is the state we should be encouraging it. And we have to create a business-friendly environment, and we've got a governor that's basically saying New York's open for business. Well, we're really just trying to say, okay, here's your opportunity to put up or shut up about keeping an industry that creates jobs and can expand jobs, real jobs, in New York State. And I know nationwide that New York is not looked upon as a favorable Second Amendment state in general, except we've got over 4 million gun owners in New York State, and we're just trying to say, look, this is a great industry. We love it. We want to encourage it, and we're going to speak out about it and basically put the pressure on to a governor, a lieutenant governor, and a legislature to say, you're always talking about jobs, but here's a great industry to really show your support with, and we're going to do everything we can to bring light on this. And I also got to tell you that the media, even in New York State, believe it or not, right in Albany, New York, believe it or not, had a very positive article about this initiative. And I just got to tell you, Tom King and the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association and Scope and the NRA, here's a great initiative to get behind that basically doesn't talk about Democrats or Republicans. It talks about what people care most about, and that's the pocketbook issues.
Leader Kolb, how grateful are you that we're not talking about New Jersey?
I love the fact that we're talking about New York, and what a great opportunity for the first time, and you guys know, because you talk nationwide. I bet you 3 weeks ago you would have said, who the heck's going to be talking about creating jobs in New York State in the firearms?
Right. Yeah. Well, what is this, a misprint? Tom, to shift gears on this just a little slightly, we've seen this, and Kolb, you talked about this as well. We've seen this nationwide where there are states that support this and states that don't. How much do politics play into this as far as supporting initiatives or in some states doing things to try to, hurt firearms companies from doing business in particular states?
Well, everything is politics. You just can't get away from that. And until the political climate changes, and which, by the way, it is in New York, you have to provide the friendly environment. Manufacturing jobs have between a 5 to 7 to 1 multiplier on per dollar in the economy. That's a whole lot, particularly when the sportsmen of New York State spend over $1 billion a year on shooting supplies and hunting supplies. That's a lot of money,
sure
and
is.
I think that the politicians are beginning to see that, and it's something that's taken a lot of work, and it's taken a lot of effort, and I don't want this to seem like it's a mutual admiration society here, but we've come a long ways, and it's because of people like Brian Kolb.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you one last question, gentlemen. If I'm not mistaken, recently Senator Schumer actually went on record talking about trying to save New York State firearms industry jobs. Did I dream that, or did that really happen?
What's that old saying? Ducks can walk and ducks can swim and actually walk on the moon and all that sort of thing. But lo and behold, even Chuck Schumer recently came out and said, we've got to repeal an unemployment insurance surcharge in New York State and other states as well. So I think they're finally, it's the environment that's right for, let's talk real about job creation. Let's talk real about who's really creating an economic possibilities for our nation. And I think that's why Chuck Schumer, who I think understands that he reads the tea leaves, and I think finally he's starting to see the light that this is about job creation, and you got to either join it or get the hell out of the way.
All right, guys, so prognosticate a little bit for us here. What do you think this is out there? We think it's a great idea. What do you think it's going to happen on the ground there in New York State? You think the companies are going to come?
Yes. New York is a great state. For people who haven't been here, we have New York City, which is a good place to visit. We have upstate New York, which is a great place to live. The Adirondack Mountains are surpassed by no place else in the United States. We have hunting, we have fishing, and we have the great outdoors. The Adirondack Park. In the Adirondack Park alone, you can fit the 5 largest parks in the West inside the Adirondack Park. That's how much free space we have.
Wow. Well, guys, great work. Go ahead, sir.
I was just going to say I would echo to that. I think that New York State, quite frankly, is one of the best kept secrets. They get a bad rap because of New York City. I'm going to tell you, come to New York State. We've got everything you can possibly imagine. Great place to raise a family. Natural resources. We got more fresh water than anybody. And I just got to tell you, it's about an attitude change, and hopefully we can get people to understand that New York State is a lot bigger than the city of New York.
I just wanted to add this in because usually I'm pretty crazy, but I wasn't crazy. I really did read this, and I found it on the New York Times. This is an article from earlier this month. It said the quest for firearms jobs has made some unexpected partnerships. In New York State, Senator Chuck Schumer issued a news release in May praising Remington after it agreed to move a factory from Maine, bringing with it 40 to 50 jobs. The release made no mention of Senator Schumer's record supporting gun control. Instead, it said Mr. Schumer had led the effort in Congress to repeal the law that limited competition for small arms contracts so that Remington can now compete for small arms contracts with the Department of Defense. So I really didn't make that up, and I wasn't dreaming it.
You weren't hallucinating?
Senator Schumer was praising Remington.
Well, there you go. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for the great work you're doing. It's Assembly Minority Leader Brian Kolb and Tom King, President of the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association. Stay in touch, gentlemen. Let us know how things roll as this rolls out, and we appreciate you taking time tonight to be on Cam & Company. Have a great night.
Very good. See you in a couple
Always
weeks.
a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.